I'm Lynda Beaton. I am the mayor of the city of Manistee.
Do you like being mayor?
I'm enjoying it. I will be totally frank. I do enjoy it. I'm meeting a lot of new people. I'm looking at Manistee in a whole new light sometimes. I really take my responsibilities very seriously because I have to remember, and it's not hard to remember once you start meeting a bunch of people, that you represent everybody who lives here, and they all have different needs. And they all have a different, sometimes a very different vision of what Manistee should look like. So it's hard to find that balance, but I keep it in the back of my mind all the time when I'm voting, because I don't want to disenfranchise anybody. And it's important to me that we keep that in the forefront. If it comes between people and infrastructure, I probably lean more toward people's needs.
Let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
Your vision for Manistee. I mean, because as mayor, you should come to the table with a little bit of a vision of how you think the city should function, how it should look, how it should move forward into the future. You did want to touch on a few things: senior housing, short-term rentals, attraction of developers, and some of your volunteering. So I'll open up the table to you. We can start with whatever you want. Why don't we start with senior housing? Because that's been a hot topic lately.
It has been. The Wagner Center, home to the Council on Aging, is undergoing a tremendous task of trying to figure out what they really need in the way of senior housing. The vision there has always been to build something around the church, which is now called the Wagner Center. So what they've done is they weren't getting any support for help, and they went out and they hired a consultant. They hired a company called TDA. The cost of that fee was $16,000. They were able to secure $10,000 from the foundation for the fee, and then they came up with the other $6,000. I have been in a lot of meetings, not all of them, regarding housing around the Wagner Center, and I'm impressed with what I have learned and have seen with the people that are from TDA. So I think they're on the right track. They're doing things methodically. They are going to have focus groups set up in October. They're going to have people come in, sit at tables. There'll be a person facilitating at each table. They're going to survey things like their income. That will all be very confidential. That'll be separate from the other survey questions as far as what they expect their housing needs to be. Because we really need to figure out exactly what belongs there and what's the best fit if we're going to put senior housing there. So I'm very proud of the fact that they've taken this step. It's very ambitious, but I think they're doing it in the right steps. So I live right behind that. My backyard has a clear view of the front of the church.
Sure.
And I'm all for it. I have been. I've seen it successfully done in other communities. I've seen other retirement homes. My parents went to one that independent living all the way to the end of life. They both were in 2 units next to each other. They both died within 39 days of each other. Then they were both in what they call the memory lane. So they had been losing their,
Sure.
mental capacity for a while. So, and they both lived in their 90s. So I'm anticipating that I can make it. So I think it would be great to see a very robust, active group of people living there to develop more activities at the senior center. So I'm hopeful that it might take that direction as well.
What about some of the housing that we currently have that's under the supervision of the city that needs to be?
Are you talking about the Housing Commission?
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that?
It's not good. I'm gonna be straight up. It's really distressing to hear about the fact that we have a chronic bed bug problem since 2015.
I was thinking about bringing that up, but
I'm sorry, it's not acceptable. It shouldn't have been acceptable when it first started to become a huge problem. I don't know that they've really got a system to eradicate it. They have to stop it from coming in the door, so they need to really think about, new tenants coming in, are they bringing anything? Because getting infected over and over again is not the answer. You can't treat a problem once it's already developed. You should be treating it on all fronts.
I don't know how you treat it.
There's all kinds of,
Yeah.
heat source, things to do it. But honestly, it's a visual check. You can see them. Pick up a mattress. You can see them under a mattress. There should be, in my mind, and I've been told this can't be done by the executive director of the housing, they don't do wellness checks. I find that scary. I find it really sad that we had not too long ago, a resident died in her apartment till her relatives started getting concerned because they couldn't reach her, and finally reached out to the police department when they came in, and she had been dead for maybe a day or two. They need to develop it inside there, a good atmosphere where people want to check on each other, and they may be doing that. I've heard a lot of stories. I hear the bad stories.
Sure.
And I'm very worried about what's going on there. We need to have a more direct approach with how to handle the management over there. And I'm not sure how to do that. I'm going to be perfectly blunt. I mean, we have a housing commission. They need to take the reins and they need to drive this.
I'd agree with that, 100%.
Yeah. And we have some good people on it. So I was hoping that we would get a resident tenant that would step up and take the place of James Bond, who's been in that role for a while, because I'm starting to hear stories about they don't know who he is or he's not approachable. I don't know what to believe. The only way to figure this out is to get more insight into what's actually going on there. So that's my take on it.
Well, it's a good take. That's a hot take for sure.
I'm sure it is.
Well, we're going to keep the fire hydrant open, and why don't we just go right into short-term rentals?
Short-term rentals. Well, we know that we have at least 157 of them, and most of them are on the north side. And that's largely due to the development of Harbor Village. Harbor Village started out as buy a condo and rent it out. We'll handle the rentals.
Sure.
That was, we didn't even call those short-term rentals back then. We just called them rentals.
We just called them rentals.
Vacation rentals. So that's still a very populated area with short-term rentals. But when you recognize that there's 13, I believe, condo associations under the umbrella of Harbor Village, they each have their own boards, and they each have their own bylaws. They do a pretty good job of policing their own people in those. I mean, every style of condo has its own board. The cottages all.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I don't have a problem with the condos. I don't have a problem with the Edgewater condos. Those are short-term rentals, and they have flipped over and they've turned in. Investors have bought those, and the prices, exactly where they thought it was going to be when they did the original vision. But I don't think they ever thought that they were going to be short-term rentals. But that is what's driven that market. There's some good things. We see properties being improved, but I will tell you, we have a lot of nice little homes on the north side that are being purchased by investors that are using them as short-term rentals. Some of them are very well managed, and others are just. Every time there's a disturbance, they call me. I get to hear very regularly from the residents when something's happening. And although the standard answer should be, please call the police.
Sure.
The police never get there in time. They just, they're busy. It's hard. It's tough. So the parking is terrible. If you, for example, I'll give you a wonderful example, because I have something going in across the street from me. I don't know what it's going to end up being. It was a duplex, a very small duplex. It has 1,265 square feet. It is sitting on a lot size of 3,200 square feet. It has 2 apartments in it. One has a couple of bedrooms, one is just a very small 1 bedroom. The owner of that building, really nice guy, he always put long-term renters on the other side. I don't know how he did it. I think it was magic. I've been there 12 years and I've seen a variety of renters rent that space for a year or less or 2 years. You know, he's always found good renters. He just put a sign in the window, or he's advertised on Craigslist,
Yeah.
and he's got a network here. He's got relatives here. Done a great job. It's just recently been sold because it was always considered a duplex because he used the bottom apartment for himself when he came up. It's still it's grandfathered in. There's a state law that says you can't make zoning changes and disenfranchise people. If this was a brand new short-term rental, it would have to be for a duplex in zone 2. It would have to be 10,000 lot size square feet. It would have to provide for 2 parking spaces for each apartment off the street. And it would have to have a minimum, I believe it's 960 square feet per unit. As you can see, 960 times 2 is way more than
Sure.
1,265. So it wouldn't be considered a rental. It wouldn't even be a single family home rental. Because
Right.
for a single family home rental, it's gotta be 6,000 square feet for the lot size. So there's the problem. We haven't figured out where they all are. We have a fair idea of where they all are, but we missed the opportunity to hire a company to do a deep dive and really find out where they're all located. So,
What's the goal after you find out where they're all located?
well, I think we need to actually hire a service, but that was voted down by city council. So, I'm not sure what the next steps are. The mayor of Ludington, I've been in meetings with him I actually went to a mayor's convention. Can you believe it? It was in Cadillac, so it was easy. So I met him that way, and that was just a few weeks ago. I mean, I said, "How are you happy with your short-term rental policy?" He goes, "Yeah, 30. We limit it at 30. You know, it was hard to get through, hard to approve, but we limited it to 30, and now we have control of our housing stock." I'm thinking that's huge.
30, that's not a lot.
That's not a lot. I don't really see that happening here.
I'm
So we have
surprised.
so
I'm
many.
surprised they got it that low, without
Yeah. Yeah, they looked
missing
at all
a
the.
ton of people.
I know.
You know what I mean?
They did it.
Because they're a little bit bigger than Manistee. So to say
Yeah,
that we
but
have over 100 and some.
They have 2,000 more people than we do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's incredible. So, I am concerned about it. Obviously, when you don't know who your neighbor is, it's a little disconcerting. I'd like to know. I like all of my neighbors, the quirky ones, especially. You know, the more diversity, the better off. I really enjoy them. So and even the long-term renters, we've got one across the street who's been there since I've been in my house, and I've been in my house for 12 years. I love her. I watched her son grow up. He's a huge football player now.
Good.
Plays pro Nakama. So.
If you could say tomorrow, this is what I'd like the short-term rental situation to look like, what would that be for you in your eyes?
For my personal beliefs, I really wanted to make sure that we identified where they all are, long-term and short-term rentals, only because I worry about their safety in passing those inspections. I want them to not, pack 20 people in a small house. I just want to make sure that everybody is safe and it's been inspected. That's my primary concern. Because if it's not safe in that house, say it catches on fire, then you've got a problem next door with people that didn't deserve that. So.
Well, I know you got some really good news, but I did want to touch on the developer attraction Is there a plan for that? You
Well,
wanted to
Mark
touch
Miller,
it?
Mark Miller is working on that. I do think because we've managed to not complete or shoot down a couple of ideas that have come before the city, that I have heard that our reputation outside the city as far as developers goes,
It's moving up.
not really moving up. I think I think there's some negativity out there that's hurting us. And I think we need to make sure,
And you think that stems from not allowing certain projects or allowing certain
not allowing
Okay.
projects. Developers, I don't think they understand. Developers really put in many hours
Sure they
coming
do.
at developing plans, architectural features that people want, that,
It's not cheap.
they have to price everything out. I mean, they don't get a plan approved, it's gonna cost them, it could cost them between $100,000 and $150,000 easy.
Sure,
just in
depending on the
time.
scale. Yeah.
Right. So, I would like to avoid that, so that we don't develop a bad reputation. I think with the Hampton Inn and the other projects, with the Gateway projects, we are moving in the right direction. I see those as a real draw for the city. So I see good things ahead. I'm more positive than negative, trust me.
It's good. I'm way more positive than negative.
Good.
So what's the good news?
What's the good news? The Riverwalk. We got the grant.
Oh, that is phenomenal.
We got
Did
the
you know that?
grant. Bill Gamble worked diligently on writing this grant, and with the help of Spicer, writing a grant, just you're requiring paperwork and paperwork and paperwork. He's done a tremendous job. So we received a grant yesterday for $850,000. There's a matching portion that we have to meet, that's $240,000. So we have over $1 million worth of new money that we will put into fixing the Riverwalk.
That's exciting.
It's very exciting.
That is really exciting.
Yes. Yeah, we found out about that at the end of the day.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really good news.
Very happy about
I'm
that.
very
And that
happy to
is a
hear that.
very big draw, and that is all part of economic development.
In a future draw, so we need to make sure that we keep it up, we fix it up.
We do. It's very much been,
In a nice little spot to have some pop-up businesses. There's
you
all
know,
kinds of things we could talk about with
I
this.
know. Cindy Lundberg, the first time I met her was just before we appointed somebody to be in, Roger's spot. I wanted to meet her. I didn't know who she was. I mean, I knew she was Eric's sister, Eric Gustin's sister. But when I met her, she is just so enthusiastic.
She's very enthusiastic.
And we walked along the Riverwalk, and she said,
Great teacher.
all of this is a missed opportunity. She said, I grew up here, moved to California. The back of all these buildings should have little kiosks out there, tables. Should be able to order a drink out here. They could be selling merchandise. All kinds of things could be happening. We're not utilizing that space. And I think we need to really grow that part of it. So maybe with the money that we're investing in the Riverwalk, more of the property owners along the banks will see the value in doing something like that. So I'm happy.
I'm happy to have you.